starring Becca Sheets, Kaylyn Newell, Carmie, Midnight, Kat, Deanna de Keizjer, Hazel Campbell, and Matthew Wellen. Absurdity Ascents is written by Emerson Arriety and narrated by Bean.
The women have finally wised up and are sitting around the living room of Bexs Jacobs. This place is not in complete ruins, and is still considered by many pundits to be habitable. It is the day after a massive amount of money was wired to Nada. Dallas says,
"It's a sign to fix the ship. Why else would you get $10 million out of nowhere?"
Yeah, but why does the Illuminati know that I'm trying to fix a ship?
Who cares? It ain't like they can do nothing once you use the money anyway.
Demo, eager to get the money for the spaceship, voices her support of Dallas.
$10 million, as I understand it, is an excessive amount for a single person to have.
Lydia, eager to get the money for herself, says,
"Maybe enough to repair my house excessive?"
Fine. Everyone gets something with the money.
Nada points to Lydia, then Bexs and Demo.
You get house repairs, and you get house repairs.
Nada points to Dallas.
You get ship repairs.
Nada points to London.
What do you want, Pockets? Just a few $1,000s left.
Please don't start calling me that.
Nah, you've encouraged me to continue, if anything. So what'll it be, Pockets?
I don't know. I would probably just go on a little shopping spree or something.
Dallas scoffs.
There ain't nothing little about your shopping sprees.
Demo raises her hand.
I think what you're considering gifts are unfair.
This isn't actually as much money as you think it is. Most of it is going towards fixing the spaceship, and the rest of that money is going towards fixing the houses. I'll have about $2,000 after all of that.
Demo looks at Nada hopefully, and she sighs.
Everyone gets $100. Lose your shit, ladies.
Much obliged.
Later that night, Lydia is sitting on a sleeping bag in her living room. A box of pizza and empty beers litter the floor.
It's about time I got this place fixed up.
The remote asks,
"I'm getting $100 too, right?"
What do you need $100 for? What do you want, a cozy or something?
It doesn't matter what I want. I just don't see why I wouldn't be receiving $100.
I think you should have brought that up earlier.
Lydia sips the beer in her hand, shakes it, and then chucks it behind her and grabs a new one.
If you hadn't lost the manual, we could have fixed all of this by now. Not to mention create a spaceship instead of waiting a month for it to be repaired.
Lydia grumbles.
It's not my fault the manual got lost, alright? It's not like it matters anyway. We're never gonna see that again.
Lydia yawns and crawls under the sleeping bag. Imagine, for a moment, a common cinematic effect. The screen becomes distorted as it fades to black. Whiteness seeps in around the screen. Lydia is dreaming of herself running through the hallways of a school. She bursts into a classroom, where Dallas, Bexs, and Nada are all sitting. London is at the front of the class by the board. The other women look at her.
Sorry I'm late.
The other women continue staring at her as she closes her eyes.
Am I wearing pants?
Nope.
Lydia looks down to see that she is wearing nothing at all. She covers herself with her hands. London tells her to take a seat beside Demo, and she does so. Demo turns and speaks to her.
I want my $100.
Lydia pulls back. The swallow on Nada's head, which certainly wasn't there before, squawks at Lydia, and London bangs her stick against the board.
Pay attention.
Lydia looks up for a second before a clinking noise draws her attention to under her desk. It appears that she is handcuffed to it. She pulls at it and it jingles. A red fog creeps into the room, and everyone else disappears.
Hello? Anybody?
You were given the answer of, it is her.
Demo?
A humanoid creature with twice the normal amount of limbs and 4 black wings floats over to Lydia's desk.
You wonder rather falsely if she is Demo. Rather, you are informed by the pretty being that her name is Dearbhail.
Okay. Can you uncuff me?
You are told that you must do that yourself. This is your dream after all.
Why are you talking like that?
You are not given an answer. You are about to ask another question.
What are you?
You are informed of the fact that she has entered your dreams. You are about to ask if this is real or not. The answer will be a resounding yes. Dreams are real. But you did not mean it that way, in which case yes and no would be appropriate.
Lydia blinks at Dearbhail, dumbfounded.
I get enough of this cryptic crap when I'm awake. Can you just uncuff me so I can get out of here?
You continue to insist that Dearbhail can uncuff you. She has an offer for you that you have been wanting for a while.
Oh, really?
You listen intently as the pretty being tells you about a mutually beneficial offer. You are offered a chance to have the one thing that your heart desires, keeping in mind that although she is very powerful, what you want won't be granted in an instantly gratifying way.
And how exactly will this be granted, and just what do you get out of this?
Dearbhail holds out a red, glowing orb to Lydia.
You speak to Dearbhail in a tone that suggests suspicion. You are informed that powers grow best by using them. You are worried about her becoming more powerful than you. She has already accomplished this, but you are worried for nothing, as she cares nothing for your silly little reality.
Silly little reality.
You take offense at that which may have been slightly ruder than intended. You are given an apology and an explanation. You are a 7th-dimensional being, while Dearbhail is an 8th-dimensional being.
As an 8th-dimensional being, what concerns do you have all the way down here in the 3rd dimension?
You are told about all of the budding excitement as $100 bills promise to fulfill small desires. Dearbhail is attracted to such desires.
Dearbhail opens her hands wide, and the room is encompassed in red. Lydia is no longer handcuffed, and is in her pajamas.
I thought you said you couldn't change my dream.
You are no longer dreaming. You have awakened and are brought inside the orb of desire. You are given one last chance by Dearbhail. She asks, would you like to have your true desire granted, or not?
I don't know.
You speak words that are untrue. You wish to have your true desire fulfilled, but you wonder, is Dearbhail the way to go? You are informed that the best way to go is always with Dearbhail, as she does not care about your reality.
Then why? What do you really want?
You were already told that she was seeking to improve her powers. You want her to explain herself further, but Dearbhail feels that that is unnecessary.
Dearbhail holds up a finger on her lower left hand and places it on Lydia's forehead.
You are informed about the concept of realities. You are informed that this piece of reality was once highly coveted, and the adjacent one's value has been diminished.
Are you comparing realities to property?
You are given an affirmative answer.
You want to fulfill my desires because you want me to fix my reality so that the adjacent realities will have better selling value?
You would be correct.
So it seems my silly little reality does concern you.
You overstate your value to the grand scheme of existence. Even Dearbhail, as an 8th-dimensional being, barely matters.
Yeah, sure, whatever. If I were to do this for you...
You are not in any position to negotiate for additional things. You are already getting the better part of this deal. Keep in mind that Dearbhail has to be polite, and you are making her worry.
Lydia scoffs.
You're no picnic yourself, but fine. Grant my desire.
The red fog thickens and encompasses Lydia's entire vision. She blinks and rubs her eyes, but with, of course, nothing doing. When it does clear, Lydia is standing alone inside of the red orb, with Dearbhail looking in from the outside.
You are regrettably informed that she cannot give you the universe, as Dearbhail is sure you already know. Taming the universe is an art that one must learn, and she can think of no better teacher than the painter.
The painter?
Dearbhail wraps her hands around the orb. She stretches them out so there are 8 orbs stuck together. Lydia can no longer see outside of the orb, only the 32 hands holding it.
You are told of this, the painter, another being capable of manipulating reality.
Dearbhail opens her hands wider, and the orbs increase to 10 tesseracts, each containing a Lydia.
Where am I?
You are in the 5th dimension, the second of the temporal dimensions.
Dearbhail wraps the 10 tesseracts into a single orb and presses them all together to form one rainbow orb. Inside are 10 Lydias pressed together. Half are joined at the back, the other half are joined at the top of the head. Lydia touches her faces. All of her arms move at once. Dearbhail spins the orb around, and 2 more Lydias appear.
You are in the 6th dimension, the highest temporal dimension. The next dimension is the dimension from where you first came. It is the entirety of your reality.
Dearbhail opens her hands, revealing a vast expanse of everythingness to Lydia, an everythingness that is inconceivable to the 3rd-dimensional mind. Being barely able to comprehend it herself prompts Lydia to wonder.
You say that you came from a higher dimension than reality. What is higher than reality?
You think in such a manner that is so typical of lower-rung dimensional beings. You were told that there must be an 8th dimension for there to be multiple realities, the dimension where quasi-existential beings exist, the highest form of being.
How many dimensions are there?
You were told that the dimensions are known for coming in groups of 3, spatial, temporal, and existential. Dearbhail tells you the highest is the 9th dimension, which is existence itself.
Dearbhail grabs hold of the orb, obscuring Lydia's vision again. Streaks of rainbow-colored Dearbhail fill the space, and she opens her hands again, and there is simply a black hole.
Your true desire awaits you.
Dearbhail shoves the orb into the black hole. The orb floats through a blank white space. It, along with Lydia, are constantly changing colors and leaving behind imprints of themselves as they travel. Below Lydia, or at least what she believes to be below, are many transparent cubes with white opaque cubes spinning inside of them. There are 8 women, each a separate color, converging on Lydia, each leaving an imprint behind as they move. They come to a stop around Lydia, and she can see the faces clearly. All of them look exactly the same. As a matter of fact, this is the same person, and her name is the Painter. The Painter pops the orb, breaking Lydia into 10 pieces, which collide with each part of the Painter's body. The 2 that didn't crash into a Painter come to a halt as though they did collide with her. The Lydias all rotate and swim towards where the orb was and converge with one another. Lydia opens her mouth to speak, but nary a sound comes out. The Painter closes her hands together and brings them apart. As she opens her mouth, words spill from them and into the expanse of everythingness.
What are you doing here?
The Painter clamps her hands around the words, and they vanish. Lydia attempts to imitate her, but no words come out. The Painter giggles and words spill from her mouth.
Ha ha.
Lydia scrunches up her face. The Painter presses her finger to the side of her head.
You must visualize the words and paint them in the air.
Lydia closes her eyes and tries once again to speak. A thought bubble spills from her mouth, and a picture of Dearbhail appears.
How do you know Dearbhail?
Lydia imagines a picture of herself sleeping. Then it turns into the orb.
I do not understand. What dimension did you come from?
Lydia imagines the number 3.
That dimension confuses the hell out of me.
Lydia laughs silently, and the Painter crosses her arms.
It's not funny.
Lydia closes her eyes. She imagines the number 7, and a picture of herself scratching her head.
Ha, fair enough.
The Painter looks hopefully at Lydia.
Dearbhail brought you here for a reason, I am sure. She must have chosen to fulfill your desire. Tell me what it is.
Lydia tries to figure out how to articulate herself. She closes her eyes and imagines herself with her hands clasped together, and as she opens her hands, outer space is created inside. The imaginary Lydia presses her fingers on spots in space, creating planets as she does so. The Painter's expression turns neutral, and she stares at Lydia for a few moments.
You want to know how to make a universe? You can't even paint text.
Lydia frowns at her.
How am I supposed to teach you something so intricate as universe creation?
The Painter grabs her head and sighs.
Sighs. I will see what I can do, but I make no promises.
The Painter grabs Lydia, pulling her apart as she moves them towards one of the transparent cubes. The Painter mimes for Lydia to watch her. Buckets of paint materialize in her hands, and she pours it over the cube. She takes Lydia's hands and presses them into the paint.
This is the pulse of everything that exists within this universe.
She gently swirls her hands around to the paint. The spirals around the cube start to take shape, looking something like a multicolored galaxy.
You define the laws, but each has a different beginning and different ending. Some end the same way, some begin the same way, but all combinations are unique.
The painter swims inside of the cube, and as she does, the spheres become transparent, and inside of them are opaque tesseracts.
Inside of the sixth dimension, the same process is happening, but on a smaller, less significant scale.
The painter pulls Lydia outside of the cube.
Do you see now the pointlessness of what you are doing?
Lydia imagines a question mark.
You have come from a third dimension. You influence only 2 dimensions. You do not even influence time.
Lydia thinks for a while. Then she imagines the number 7. The painter stares at Lydia for a while.
I do not understand you.
Lydia tries to figure out how to articulate herself better. Then she imagines the number 7654321.
I think I understand what you mean.
Lydia gestures at the dimension around her. Then she imagines the number 7654321.
Okay. I guess you're trying to say that you need to be in the 7th dimension to do anything. Am I right?
Lydia nods in affirmation.
If you want to do anything significant, you have to be in the 7th dimension, yes. You can change the laws and how things begin and end.
Lydia closes her eyes and imagines the word
everything.
You can't. Well, not without changing the nature of reality, that is.
Lydia tilts her head, a question mark forming in the air.
Let's say, for simplicity's sake, that there are 100 different timelines in the 6th dimension.
In an instant, the painter draws 100 blue dots.
If I change the laws, this will affect the entirety of the 6th dimension, which in turn affects the other 5 dimensions.
Underneath each of the dots, she draws 10,000 more dots, most of them red, except for a single blue one.
Within the 6th dimension exist 100 fifth-dimensional worlds, which will obey my laws. But the 6th dimension controls where they go, and only one of them will do what I wanted.
The painter paints 1,000,000 dots, only one of them blue.
From the perspective of the 7th dimension, there are 10,000 worlds in the 5th dimension. In the 4th dimension, there are 1,000,000 worlds, and 100 million in the 3rd dimension.
The painter paints 100,000,000 dots, just one of them blue.
Each world within a dimension is at least somewhat different. For me to have exactly what I want from the lower dimensions is unreasonable. Do you understand?
Lydia gives a slow nod.
Do you really?
Lydia glares at the painter and nods harder.
If you want your entire universe to look the exact same, it would have to become what?
Lydia imagines the number 1.
Exactly. But that would be horrible. Combining everything into one dimension is a gross amount of uniformity and needlessly simplistic. Destruction causes sameness. Creation causes differences. The beauty of a universe is how it is different than the next one by one minute detail, yet nothing is quite the same at all.
The painter spins in a circle, changing gracefully through a melody of colors like an iridescent bubble.
How?
Lydia then imagines herself with the number 3 above it, which then morphs into the number 7.
You cannot tell me you don't know how to ascend. Ascension is a key ability as the maker of the universe. How did you make your universe in the first place?
Lydia blinks and bites her lip.
I don't believe this. Wow. To ascend is to reach for higher dimensions. You must see it with your mind's eye. And you must be motivated enough to reach it. The strongest motivation is love.
Lydia imagines a heart with a question mark over it.
You don't have love in your reality?
Lydia waves her hands frantically.
Okay. I was about to tell you that your reality was messed up.
Lydia imagines a heart. Then she puts her hand over her eye and looks around. Then she shrugs.
You don't have to look for love. Love finds us in ways we aren't always expecting. Love to me is never feeling alone.
The painter drifts through the expanse of everythingness.
Being a seventh-dimensional being, loneliness is a feeling I often find myself battling. Not many people understand the burden, the isolation.
The painter stops drifting and clutches her heart. She looks at Lydia, who looks back at her expectantly.
I believe that is all I can teach you.
Lydia gives the painter a thumbs up. The painter looks at her hands for a second before returning the gesture. Lydia looks around, then after a while she frowns.
Is something wrong?
Lydia imagines Dearbhail.
Lydia, are you sure learning how to manipulate reality was your true desire?
Lydia nods, and the painter drifts closer to her.
Positively positive?
Lydia nods harder.
Maybe you are wrong. Dearbhail can see deep into your heart, even if you can't.
Lydia shakes her head, and the painter clenches her fist and turns back to Lydia. Lydia imagines a question mark. She then drifts into view of the painter and imagines a question mark again.
It doesn't matter.
Lydia shakes her head and then imagines a question mark. The painter makes a face.
Right before you arrived, Dearbhail came to me and made me her offer.
Lydia rolls her hands in such a way as to say, "Go on." The painter bites her lip.
I thought that you were it.
Lydia points to herself and imagines a question mark. The painter imagines a heart. Lydia shrugs and then imagines a clock.
I have never had to deal with time, so forgive me for not understanding the significance.
Lydia points to the painter. She imagines a heart and a question mark. Then she imagines a clock.
Stop it with the clock.
Maybe.
She imagines a heart, and then points to the painter.
You are just trying to be nice.
Lydia makes a face and then shakes her head no. Lydia then imagines a house.
See, you want to go home already. If you really might love me, why don't you want to stay?
Lydia holds up a finger and imagines a clock.
If you don't stop it with the clocks.
Lydia points to herself. Then she holds up her hands like a stay command.
You'll stay?
Lydia tugs on her ears. The painter pushes her hair away from her face to show Lydia that she doesn't have any ears. Lydia remembers learning some American Sign Language from Autumn when they were in high school. She signs to the painter.
ASL.
The painter stares blankly at Lydia, and Muna says to the two keepers of reality,
You have called Muna here for a reason.
The painter taps Lydia. When she gets her attention, she points to Lydia, then she forms a heart with her hand. Then she makes the money sign.
I love money?
The painter shrugs and pulls at where her ears would be. Then she points to her mouth. Lydia shrugs, and the painter closes her eyes tightly in frustration. She points to Lydia, and then makes the money sign. She points to Lydia again, and then points outside of the orb.
I want to buy?
Thinking that she sort of understands what the painter was trying to say, she turns to Muna.
I want to buy a reality. It should be with Dearbhail.
You mentioned Dearbhail, but Dearbhail's not your reality agent. Muna is.
She was showing me a reality earlier. She's showing it to someone else.
Lydia grinds her teeth together with enough force to shatter them. The audacity, the deception.
Take me there.
You want Muna to take a commission away from Dearbhail? Your reality will be rampant with desire, so Muna agrees to take you there.
Muna looks at the painter.
You are the one who called Muna. Will you be coming?
Maybe she should stay here. She needs to worry about her own reality.
Muna splits the orb in half. The painter scampers to the edge of the orb and looks at Lydia with wide eyes. Lydia goes to the edge and waves. She then gives her a thumbs up, and the painter returns the gesture. Back in Lydia's reality, down in the third dimension in her kitchen, Dearbhail and a red ocelot are looking at the tear in reality.
You are told the benefits of buying this reality over your old one. It offers an extra degree of freedom due to a tear in the fabric of reality.
There's got to be a trade-off. What's the trade-off?
You will not be able to define but that single measurement. This reality has standard measurements: sound, light, distance. Very basic. You are also assured that the tour threatens only this small portion of your reality, but will negatively affect the inhabitants.
What makes you think I care about the inhabitants? Is it true that I can become an 8th dimensional being here?
Seeing as you will have an additional degree from whence to move, Dearbhail sees it as inevitable. Once you do ascend to the 8th dimension, you can sell this reality to someone else.
Oh boy. This place is tempting. Probably won't be staying here long, because if I was, lack of customization would be a real deal breaker.
Red takes a deep breath.
What's the damage?
You will give Dearbhail your old reality, and she also wants the desires of half of this one.
That's absurd! Since you're eating half, I'll only pay half.
You assume rather falsely that Dearbhail didn't already take that into account. You do not care about the inhabitants, and you will reach the 8th dimension regardless. So what do you care?
Red growls at Dearbhail, but Dearbhail remains unaffected, with a bored expression on her face.
Fine. I don't care. Just don't touch this half.
You already know that Dearbhail wouldn't do that to you, as that is a necessarily rude hindrance to your goal.
Red raises a paw to Dearbhail, and she shakes it.
You are now the proud owner of a new reality.
Red grins and looks at the tear. A spherical fissure of space meeting air floating above the kitchen tile.
Let's see if this is really what you say it is. Alright, universe. Let's make the cule a unit of measurement. 1 cule would be...
Red pauses to think.
You should hurry. Dearbhail urges you to establish yourself in this reality before...
A red flash comes from the living room, and both Red and Dearbhail look to see Lydia and Muna emerge. The pair come into the kitchen. Lydia has the remote drawn and pointed forward.
Just what do you think you're doing?
You're too late. She already sold it to me.
It wasn't hers to sell. This reality is mine.
Look, we can solve this nice and simple, huh? My old reality is right about to be vacated and cleaned fresh for you, and Dearbhail will take you over to it.
I don't want your reality, so just go back to it and give me mine back.
If this reality means so much to you, you can just remake it over at my old place. Starting clean, you'll be able to fix all the mistakes you made the first time around, eh?
My friends are here.
Friends?
Friend. People I know. I just won't turn them over to some stranger. Besides, I don't like being swindled out of my reality.
Red bares his teeth.
No one needs to get hurt here.
Lydia levels the remote at Red.
No, they don't.
Alright, universe, let's set this place on fire.
Fire springs up around the remains of the kitchen, and Red hops onto the table. Dearbhail and Muna fly into the air and go into the living room, where it is relatively safe. Lydia covers her face with one arm, and with the other, she fires a purple beam at Red, who jumps off of the table to dodge it. An electrical surge hits the kitchen wall, and the stove explodes, blasting Red into the wall. Lydia runs into the living room.
Muna, help me.
You are already brought here by Muna. She and Dearbhail will allow the fight to end however it will.
Lydia grumbles. The fire in the kitchen fades away, and Red strolls into the living room, a bitter expression on his face.
Alright, universe. Collapse floor.
The floor beneath them rumbles and cracks, and Lydia staggers. Red jumps onto the wall and clings to it. Lydia jumps and clings onto Muna's legs as the floor crumbles away beneath them. Red races across the wall and dives at Lydia. Muna kicks Lydia into Red, and both fall towards the basement. Red claws Lydia across the chest before pushing off of her and jumping back onto the wall. Lydia smashes into the floor, causing dust to spray into the air. She coughs and groans.
How am I supposed to beat him?
This is your reality, Lydia. You know it better than him.
Red drops from the wall, dive-bombing Lydia, who dodges out of the way.
Had enough?
Lydia points the remote at Red and presses a button. Red jumps, but nothing happens, and Lydia runs for the stairs. Red charges her, closing the distance quickly. Lydia fires a purple beam at him, forcing him to jump back into the basement. Lydia exits into the charred kitchen, closing the door behind her.
How much juice do you have?
I believe I should be able to do one more thing before I need new batteries.
They were in the living room.
Alright, universe, destroy doorway.
The door splinters, and tiny pieces of wood cut the skin of Lydia's limbs. The ocelot dashes across the walls of the floorless living room, and Lydia runs out the back door.
I'm going next door.
Is that really such a good idea?
I haven't got much choice.
Red emerges into the kitchen as Lydia sprints towards Bex's house. A lightning bolt strikes the ground, setting it on fire. Then another one hits the ground, and Lydia covers her head.
Bexs!
Red appears in the back doorway.
Alright, universe, turn the ground to quicksand.
Lydia runs, looking down as the ground wriggles. She hops, landing just in front of Bex's house and getting stuck in the quicksand.
Crap! Bexs, demo!
Red grins.
Game over. This reality is now mine.
Mute him, Lydia.
Alright, universe.
Hurry.
Lydia spins around and presses the mute button on the remote. Red tries to speak, but nothing happens. The door slides open, and Bexs and Demo hurry to Lydia's side.
Lydia!
They pull Lydia out of the quicksand.
There's an ocelot trying to take over my reality.
The one who's climbing onto your roof?
He's going to try to jump. We should probably go inside.
They go inside into Bex's kitchen. Sienna is sitting up in her dog bed watching them run past.
Is there something wrong with our lives that ocelots trying to take over reality don't even make us bat an eye?
Very. What can that thing do?
I muted him, so his powers don't work. But I need some more batteries.
I can take them from my remote. Come on.
When they come into the living room, Bexs picks up her remote control, rips it open, and hands the batteries to Lydia, who replaces them. As she does this, Red crashes through the living room window. Red dives at Lydia, knocking the remote out of her hand, and they both go skidding. Red turns to face them and grins. He sprints at Lydia, jumping at her again. Lydia ducks out of the way. Lydia, Bexs, and Demo back closer to each other. Demo pushes Bexs behind her.
Lydia, get the remote.
Red charges the trio, jumps clear over their heads, and slides in front of the remote. Demo takes a step towards Red, and Bexs grabs her arm.
It's okay. I outweigh that thing by thousands of pounds.
Demo charges at Red. Red scoops up the remote and runs upstairs. She ceases chasing him, and blows the hair out of her eyes in annoyance. Lydia clutches her chest, and sits down on the floor.
Lydia!
Bexs kneels beside her and places a hand on her shoulder. Lydia looks at the trio of jagged tears on her favorite green tea. Blood from her chest trickles through the slits and stains the shirt.
I got clawed earlier, but I'm fine. We have to stop that guy.
I can't take him, but he's too fast. I'd have to corner him somehow.
Don't you have a dog somewhere?
What? Sienna can't fight an ocelot. Are you crazy?
She doesn't have to fight him. Just help Demo corner him.
Absolutely not. Forbidden, denied.
Red slinks down the steps, his mouth empty. He hops onto the railing and his tail swishes back and forth, like a pendulum on a grandfather clock. Red jumps off of the railing and darts at Demo. She swipes at him, but he jukes behind her. He claws her leg, tearing the cloth and exposing the metal beneath. Red sprints away and crouches near the wall.
Bexs, you gotta scream. Really loud.
Why?
Just do it.
Bexs lets out a yell, and Red bares his teeth at the loud noise. Sienna scampers into the living room.
Hey!
Sienna snarls at Red and barks at him. Red walks away from Sienna, keeping an eye on her as he does so.
We need to go upstairs. Demo, don't let Red follow us.
Why'd you have to do something underhanded like that to get Sienna involved?
Lydia and Demo head towards the stairs, and Bexs trails behind them. Red chases them, and Sienna chases Red. The ocelot leaps over the railing and lands in front of them. He tackles Bexs down the stairs, and the two of them slam into the wall.
Bexs!
Red hops off of Bexs and sprints up the stairs again. Demo looks at Bexs, until Red jumps over her head and Sienna blasts past her. Lydia scrambles to the top of the stairs and stands there panting. She puts her arms up as high as they will go. Red tries to jump over her head anyway, but he barrels into her. Sienna crashes into Red shortly thereafter and bites him. Red slashes Sienna, and the two entangle in a combat of claws and teeth. Demo hovers nearby as the animals wrestle and snap at each other. She waits for an opening to tackle Red away from Sienna. Red claws and snaps at her, but Demo uppercuts him with her robotic arm, and he goes limp. Sienna whimpers and limps over to Demo and Red. She bares her teeth at Red, and Demo pets her.
He's dying. You don't have to worry about him. You fought bravely.
Demo then looks towards Lydia.
Let's get you two fixed up.
Back next door, in the shattered remains of the house, Dearbhail and Muna are floating nearby the Terran reality. Demo is cradling an unconscious Red, and Lydia is holding the remote.
You appear to be the victor.
In response, Lydia gives Dearbhail the middle finger.
Your plans to steal my reality didn't work at all.
You do not understand Dearbhail's goals. She has already succeeded in getting Red to leave his reality. You were informed by the pretty being that she eats desires, consuming most of reality to maintain nourished. You see, no matter the results, Dearbhail is going to eat Red's reality and then sell it again.
That's
the way of things. You are informed by Muna that all dimensions are destroyed by the one above it. You are also thanked by Muna for giving her the opportunity to be here and make Dearbhail share Red's reality with her.
You can't just eat his reality.
You cannot stop them as it will occur in a place you cannot reach. You are asked what you plan on doing with Red.
Resigned, Lydia simply offers the ocelot to Muna.
Just take him.
Muna takes Red.
You are bid farewell by Muna.
Muna and Dearbhail fly upwards and phase through the ceiling. After they've ascended, Lydia assesses the ruin that couldn't justify calling itself a house any longer.
You want to spend the night with us?
Yes.
Demo puts an arm around Lydia, and the two walk back towards Bex's house.
What the hell are we gonna do with all that quicksand?
I don't know. Burn it? Won't that harden it?
I think so. I'll look it up in the morning.
The end of the 8th episode is now. Existence, it seems, is much, much larger than what meets the eye, and much more convoluted. The next episode is The Universal Council. Don't miss it. Additional voices for this episode provided by Malaki, Kaylyn Newell, Skyla Newell, Mori Felbrooke, and Anna Saade.